So, Rich, obviously some monster games yesterday. The Commanders did not play, but looking around the league yesterday, what was more impressive for you? Kansas City getting another crazy win down to the wire?
One-score game?
Or the Rams taking out the Bills in that fashion?
I just there's a couple things that really jumped out to me, guys, and you look at where we're at in the NFL schedule and the season. I mean, I think you look at what the Rams and Bills did yesterday. What a shootout. 86 combined points, yes. 12 touchdowns, 902 yards. Not a lot of offense and no takeaways in that game. And, of course, you look at Josh Allen as having a monster season. I just think that the Bills, while they're playing really well in offense, I think defensively they have some issues. I think the Rams are a team to keep an eye on in the NFC West. Seattle 8-5, they've won 4 straight. Arizona has a big loss for them yesterday. They lose 3 straight. They're at 7-6. But keep an eye on the 6-7 or the 7-6 Rams because Sean McVay does a great job, and Matthew Stafford he knows what to do when we get into December and January. So I just think that NFC West is kind of screwy. I think the NFC South. The Bucks overtake the Falcons for sole possession of first place, but it seems like there's the haves and have-nots this year. You have certain divisions that have some really good teams, and other divisions like the NFC West, NFC South that have some teams that are just trying to find their way here in December.
Well, looking up north in the NFC, what's your thoughts on what's happening there in Minnesota?
Well, it's amazing, Brian. I played for the Vikings before I came and played for Washington, and people talk about what's happening with the Vikings. They say, well, they're 10-2, and they're not a great team, and now they're 11-2, and people are saying, well, and look, the quarterback has really played well, and I think here's a guy that had a lot of issues in the past. He was a turnover machine when he was with the Jets and Carolina. And they're playing really well. They're in a 6-game winning streak. They had a 5-game winning streak earlier in the season. They're really good in one-score games, which they've always been under Kevin O'Connell. I think defensively, job Brian Flores has done.
Yes.
I mean, they got after Kirk Cousins again yesterday, and that's a team to keep an eye on because everyone's been talking about the Packers. Everyone's talking about, obviously, the Lions, the kind of season that they're having. But the Vikings, quietly going about their business, have had a really strong season, and I expect them to finish well here the next couple of weeks.
Talking with Rich Gannon here, 4-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, of course, the MVP of the NFL in 2002. Rich, as a quarterback like yourself that found you dealt with injuries and stuff, but you found real success kind of later in your career. How do you view Sam Darnold? Not that he's that late in his career, but he was determined to be a complete bust for the whole nation. And now, he threw 5 touchdowns yesterday. Darnold is outrageously good.
Couple things. So when he came out of college at USC, he had a problem with ball security, 39 turnovers in 26 games. So they didn't get that corrected when he went to the Jets. And, a lot of these guys play before they're ready. We saw that with Heath Schuler in Washington. We can name a number of guys that Brian's played with that, just weren't ready to play. Mm-hmm. And I think he was one of those guys. And he goes to New York, and I think he loses confidence. The team loses confidence, coaches, eventually the fan base, and then they kick him to the curb. He goes to Carolina, not a great situation. First-time head coach of Matt Rule, first-time offensive coordinator Joe Brady. And it didn't work there as well. So, I think he lost his confidence. And I think going to San Francisco last year was a good thing for him. He got a chance to be with some really good coaches, Kyle Shanahan. Brian Griese does a great job out there with the quarterbacks. And then he got a chance to watch Brock Purdy play. And I think that helped him. And then he goes to Minnesota with Kevin O'Connell, who's played the position, has coached the position, sees the game through the eyes of the quarterback. And I think, I think he's gotten his confidence back. I think they've tried to fix some of the issues with him. He's always been athletic. He's always had, a good arm. He can make plays off schedule. The problem has been just the turnovers. And I think for the most part, he's had a couple games where he got careless, but they're trying to keep the thumb down on him. And when he takes care of the ball, he can be a really good player.
Yeah, it's been pretty remarkable to watch. Switching all over the league like this, talking quarterbacks, though, that is your specialty. Kirk Cousins is kind of having like the opposite of what you experienced, where you found the right coach, right situation. Those Raiders teams were loaded. You did such a great job running that offense. I'll never forget my boy Justin Harriott. This must have been 2003, coming off the MVP. Took you 2nd overall in our fantasy league. We still talk about that to this day. But for Kirk in Atlanta, this thing's going the opposite direction. One, are you surprised that all of a sudden Kirk is kind of reverting to this turnover-prone player? And two, do you think it's fixable or what?
All right, I'll give you two quick points. One on Kirk Cousins and one on Brian Mitchell. Okay, so I come to Washington in '93. I get traded right before the season. Okay, so I'm literally sitting in staff and offensive coordinator meetings with Rod Dahlhauer. I don't even know the offense. Okay, so I'm going out in the practice field, I'm trying to learn everybody's name. I have a right shoulder injury that gets worse, and eventually I had rotator cuff after that season. Didn't even play the following season. I was out of football. I had to kind of restart my career. But Brian used to come up to me at practice like in November and December, and he goes, "Dude, I can throw the ball further than you."
So, Rich, he may have told us that story off air.
Brian, he ain't going to back down from anybody. He was right. It took me like 30 minutes to even get my arm loosened up to throw. It was really bad. Anyway, that was, I'll never forget Brian saying that. I still laugh. He goes, "You suck, man. I can throw the ball further than you." Anyway, Kirk Cousins, look, here's the story. When the lower half of your body doesn't work, it won't say it's his arm. It's not his arm. He's thrown 8 picks and no touchdowns his last 4 games. And the opponents have 11 touchdowns and no turnovers. That's why they're losing. He's got a career high 15 interceptions. What the problem is he had that Achilles rupture. He was never fleet of foot. He's not a guy that's going to be able to create and extend plays when he gets outside the pocket. He's pretty much a guy that has to stay in the pocket. The protection has to be good. It hasn't been good at times. And when you push him up inside, he's going to struggle because his change of direction ability isn't very good. The unscripted offense isn't his bag. And that's what's happening right now. I just don't think he's generating a lot of torque and velocity. He doesn't, Achilles rupture was a big deal. You look at Aaron Rodgers; he's not the same player he was. Both of those guys, when you get near 40 years of age, and you've got, the lower half of your body isn't working like it used to, it's very hard to play that position in the NFL.
Yeah, you can kind of see it on some of his throws that it doesn't seem like he's stepping in, and then in turn,
it's his right Achilles, right?
I think it was his back.
I'm trying to figure.
He can't push off of it. Probably.
I can't think. Rodgers and I don't know if they both had the same one or not. That's a good point, Brian. I do know this though, Brian. I can throw it further than you now, bro.
I don't know, Rich. I still got a little gun, man. But I think what happens is, like, Kirk was a guy who always protected the ball, and I think the thing for him now, it's you can face things that you don't expect. So. He was a young guy. He was the thorn in Robert's side, and he had a great time with it. Now, they give him money, and then they draft a guy in the first round. That could play with somebody's head.
You're right. And, he gave a big contract, $180 million. So, when he's retired, he may not make it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but he's going to make it to the Pro
Make Money Hall of Fame.
He's made a lot. But, he's been a really solid player, and I feel for him in a way. I just think, he goes to a new team. I think there's been some challenges with the personnel. I think the protection at times hasn't been great. And I just think he's not playing it. He'll be the first to tell you he can't turn the ball over like that. I think he's trying to make plays. I think the other thing is they're falling behind in games. Yeah. They fell behind against the Broncos a couple weeks ago. That's when a lot of the turnovers start to show up. When you're trying to make a play, when you're behind by a couple of scores, when you're trying to fit one into a tight window. I think we're seeing some of that with Kirk Cousins here the last month.
What's your thoughts on the young guy here with Jayden Daniels?
Oh, honestly, I think the Commanders hit the jackpot. I mean, there's so much to like about his game. I just think we just got done talking about decision making and ball security. I just think his poise has been incredible. Even going back to that Week 1 loss at Tampa Bay. They're 1 win away from their first winning season. I mean, I look at what's on the schedule. They've got New Orleans probably without Derek Carr this week. They've got Philly. They've got Atlanta. It's a winnable game. Dallas is a winnable game. This team could easily go 11-6, which is pretty incredible with a first time or new head coach and a young quarterback. Mm-hmm. But completing 70% on the season, Brian. He's only thrown 6 picks. He's rushed for 590 yards and 6 touchdowns. He rushes for a couple first downs each week. I think they'll get better in the passing game. They'll get better around him. But his poise, his moxie, his confidence, his swag, it's been really impressive.
I agree with you, man. And one thing that I think is really important, and you played quarterback in the NFL a long time, talking with Rich Gannon here, 4-time Pro Bowler, NFL MVP. And, of course, you can listen to him on the SiriusXM Blitz with Bruce Murray, 12 to 3. XM channel 88, Mondays, Wednesdays, and
Why
Fridays.
would you do that when you can just listen to your show? I'm confused.
Well, how about they listen to you
when they on satellite? They take care of you
from 2 to 3. 2 to 3, they listen to you. Listen to us till 2. But honestly, you experienced a ton of success once you got to Oakland, and it was the right team and the right fit. How hard do you think it is for a rookie to take over a locker room and kind of become that leader? Because he's done it, and it's really impressive.
I liked him coming out of college, but I just really felt like there was going to be some real growing pains. I just think going to a team that was in the midst of a transformation, a new coach, new coordinator.
Overhaul.
You look at the roster. I just thought, here's the other thing, guys, that's been really impressive. When you look at the running game, and I like Brian Robinson Jr., but, he's missed a couple games. He's only averaging about 64 yards a game. Austin Eckler, the injuries that he has had, and he has 4 touchdowns this season. This is a guy who had 30 touchdowns the last 3 seasons with the Chargers. He had more touchdowns than any running back in the NFL the last 3 seasons. So when you don't have that consistency, when guys aren't playing week in and week out, and the running game hasn't been something you can really hang your hat on week in and week out, that's had an impact on Jayden Daniels.
Yeah.
And I just think that, they went through that little stretch there where they had issues against Pittsburgh and Philly. The Dallas game was just a debacle at the end there. But they come back and they beat Tennessee soundly. And I think that they come off their bye, and they've got a chance, I think, here over the next month to do some special things. I'm really excited with this young quarterback.
Yeah, I'm with you. Obviously, that Cowboys game was just a disaster.
It's one of those games you want to just throw away the damn film.
Rich, one thing that's interesting, you got to the highest highs with the Raiders. It seems pretty clear they're going to be quarterback shopping in the draft this year. I mean, now I don't even know where they're turning now. I guess back to Desmond Ridder. If you were running operations, and I know you're not, but right now the Raiders would have the number 1 overall pick. Who you taking number 1 overall?
Honestly, for me, it's too early. I mean, so there's 2 quarterbacks that everyone's talking about. I just think it's too early. I think there's a lot of work to be done. I think the Raiders have to be in the quarterback market. That's their number 1 need. It's been a number 1 need for so long. Here's the crazy thing. They picked 13th last year and took Brock Bowers, who I think is an offensive rookie of the year candidate. He's had a phenomenal season with bad quarterback play. But at 12, the Broncos took Bo Nix. And you think to yourself, why couldn't the Raiders moved up and got that? I just think the Raiders haven't done a very good job identifying who those players are, and then going out and drafting them. And then once they get them in the building, developing. That's the 3 things you have to do, guys. You have to be able to identify who, like Jayden Daniels. Is he a player or is he not? Okay, can we draft him? And then when we get him in the building, what can we do to help, elevate his game? And that's an area where the Raiders have really struggled. Identification, drafting, and developing.
Yeah, it's been troubling. I just wonder if Shador's coming to the desert, man. That'll be fascinating to watch unfold.
I wonder if his dad's coming too.
They're getting a package deal.
Right. Hey, Rich, thank you very much for the time, man. Really appreciate you joining us.
Man.
Appreciate you, Rich.
Brian, take care.